know you're going to talk to other people that have been abducted, and they're going to tell you about the fear. And the fear never goes away, ever. It will be with you till the day you die.
There's something damned true here that's got to be gotten out to the public, because until it is gotten out, people are passive, they're helpless, they're sitting there just letting it happen to them and not knowing what it is.
I don't want any other person, as long as they live, to have to go through what I've been through.
My colleagues and I have heard from tens of thousands of abductees over the years from around the world.
Abduction is happening. It's a true physical event that's happening to perhaps millions of people.
I would say that 95% of the people that came to me at the ministry with an abduction account came with every degree of sincerity.
Someone's taking my son away and doing, showing him things and doing things to him. You know, I like to know why.
If there is, in fact, some non-human intelligence in using some kind of non-human technology, suddenly interacting with us, it's the biggest event in human history.
One of the most infamous alien abduction events ever recorded happened in Arizona in 1975. Travis Walton, Mike Rogers and 5 other lumberjacks were driving home through the forest when they saw what they thought was a UFO through the trees.
Well, as I stopped the truck there, the guys were yelling at me to stop the truck. They'd seen something off to the right there clearly after we broke through a group of pine trees there. We looked over to our right, and there, hovering above the ground, 20 feet or so above the ground and about 100 feet from the truck, was a large glowing object. Travis, of course, had jumped out of the truck and had gone up and started walking up right up underneath it.
Well, I was just thinking that this thing was just going to take off and it would be gone before I got up close.
Get out of there! What is that? I don't know what that is.
I was getting, pretty scared myself, and I made up my mind to make a run for it. And when I raised up, wham, something hit me. It was just like a physical blow. It's kind of a tingling, shocking sort of feeling and I just blacked out.
I jerked my head back around to see what the source of the light was, and here's Travis flying back through the air. He landed some distance from where he'd been standing and landed flat on his back.
I'm not leaving him! He's dead! I'm not leaving him! Get out of here! The hell out of here! He's dead! The hell you doing? He's dead!
It turned from apprehension, scared, into horror, and the guys in the back seat were yelling at me to get the hell out of there, and I hit the gas, and we were gone down the road.
According to Travis, the next thing he remembers was waking up in what he describes as a large dark room, lying on a cold metal platform, surrounded by alien creatures.
I just flipped out. I just instantly became hysterical. I started screaming.
By this point, you realized that you were you must be inside the saucer.
Yeah. I was definitely not in a hospital.
And can you describe what these aliens look like?
Well, they were basically humanoid, 2 arms, 2 legs, like that. But they had very large heads, no hair, sort of a pale grayish white skin.
He says that he remembered a large surgical instrument being lowered down onto him and used to remove fluid from his eyes. days of his disappearance, Travis Walton's story hit the headlines across America. And despite an extensive search in the forest, no one could find any evidence of what happened. The police believe that the group might have murdered Travis and disposed of the body, but Mike and the others all passed polygraph tests and stuck to their UFO story.
And you and the other lads in the truck were convinced that you'd seen a UFO and that it had taken Travis?
We weren't convinced that we had seen a UFO. We were absolutely positive that we'd seen a UFO. It wasn't just a UFO, an unidentified flying object. This was a definite flying object. It was very close, very vivid, and burned, etched in my memory forever.
And then, just as mysteriously as he'd left, Travis woke up on the outskirts of town, just a short distance from where the UFO had been. He was dazed and disorientated.
How long were you actually gone for?
I was missing for 5 days and 6 hours and some odd minutes. Although the night I was returned, I was under the impression it had just been a short while. I thought it was the same night.
Travis and the other 6 men underwent an intensive battery of tests and examinations by experts. As crazy as their story was, no one was able to prove a hoax or a fraud.
Well, I spent a day with Travis and Mike Rogers. He passed the lie detector test. Their story is consistent. There were 5 other people there, after all, who saw part of these events unfold, and who also passed the lie detector test. His story is consistent. It's never changed. I found his story profoundly convincing.
So what did happen to Travis Walton that night in 1975?
Stop, Mike! Stop the truck!
What did he and the other loggers see in the forest? Where did Travis disappear to for 5 days?
What do you say to people who say, you know, these 7 loggers in the woods just made this whole story up?
I mean, you know, 7 people see the same thing. They stick by their stories for over 2 decades. You know, all of us have taken polygraph tests. Every theory
more than one polygraph test.
Every theory the skeptics come up with is just, you know, just absurd and easily proven so.
There was another interesting fact that wasn't reported at the time. A radiation test was done on the clothes and hats that the group were wearing on the night. The Geiger counter gave an abnormally high reading, a 6 on a scale of 10. If this was all a hoax or some sort of mass delusion, where did this high level of radiation come from?
I'm absolutely convinced that Travis Walton was indeed abducted. Their stories are consistent. I've listened to the objections of the noisy negativists about this story, and as is almost always the case, they don't stand up once you check on them, don't accept them blindly. I'm convinced he's telling the truth, along with Mike, because of all this peripheral stuff, polygraphs, etc.
The debate about whether alien abductions are real has raged for decades. For abductees, the experiences are vivid and frightening events, many with physical interaction with aliens and spacecraft. But the skeptics say that what they are really experiencing is a form of severe sleep disorder.
The more I hear about abduction stories, particularly the ones that happen in bed at night when people are asleep, the more I can see the similarities between that and what's called sleep paralysis. Sleep paralysis is surprisingly common, something like 30% of people have it. When you're dreaming, you have to be paralysed. But normally that wears off long before you ever wake up, so you don't know anything about it. But sometimes the mechanism goes wrong so that you wake up and you're still paralysed. This paralysis is very often associated with buzzing and humming noises, feelings of floating or flying or being dragged away, creepy crawly skin sensations as though something's running up and down your skin, and overwhelming all of that, a sense of presence, the feeling that there's somebody there in the room with you. And when it wears off, you just, oh phew. If you don't know what it is, it can be pretty frightening. Now, you can see the many similarities between that and alien abductions. I think a lot of alien abduction accounts are in fact elaborations of sleep paralysis.
But we know for a fact that not all of these abductees are sleeping, and they're having these experiences. Yes, there is sleep paralysis, and yes, if they're asleep, maybe part of that could be sleep paralysis. But when a person's sitting up in bed reading and a bright light floods their room and they become paralyzed and can't move and they feel something is in their room, how do you explain that? How do you explain people driving on the highway? They're not asleep and they're not always by themselves. So they're not making this up because they have witnesses.
This is inherently unbelievable. This is the fringe of the fringe. People are telling us that they're being abducted by aliens from another planet. This is prima facie evidence of mental instability and has been for many, many years. For the first 30 years, 20 years of this phenomenon, all we did was search for psychological and psychiatric reasons for why this could be happening. We've got to find the reasons for it because it's obviously psychological. It can't be happening the way people are describing it. Well, it's not psychological and it's not psychiatric, and it is happening, I think, by and large, the way people are describing it. And I think that what we're looking at here is a physiological program of exploitation by one species of another.
In December 1985, the writer Whitley Strieber experienced a terrifying alien abduction from his cabin in upstate New York. He wrote about his experience in a best-selling book, Communion, which was later turned into a major film.
Someone there.
I woke up aware of the fact that there was something terribly wrong, and when I opened my eyes, I saw these dreadful figures around me, little stocky figures that were dark blue, and a tall, willowy sort of a figure that had a big black eyes and a rather snout-like sort of narrow face. And I thought of course I was having a nightmare. I kept trying to wake up again, and I couldn't because I was already awake. I had, among other things, a needle stuck into the side of my head, and it made a flash behind my eyes, and it was absolutely terrifying. Then I blacked out.
One of the things that abductees have described over the years are these sort of unusual staring procedures where an alien will come and stare directly into their eyes at a distance of a few inches or 1 inch or even touching forehead to forehead. And what is happening there is that the alien is sort of hooking into their optic nerve and using their optic nerve as a neural pathway. And by doing that, they can go all through their brain, stimulating or innervating any neural pathways that they want, and therefore they can receive data, that is to say they can look at an abductee's memories or what an abductee has been doing for the past few weeks or whatever. They can inject data if they wish. They can elicit emotional responses for whatever procedures they want to do. They can virtually control the person in any way they want.
Just what occurred up at the cabin remains a mystery. Strieber maintains that it was a real event and not a dream, and cites that over the following 4 years, 19 other people also reported seeing aliens at the same location.
Alien abduction experiences could be one form of what's called a metachoric experience. This is a particular kind of altered state of consciousness in which you think you're in the ordinary world, but in fact you've hallucinated everything. The most common example of this is the false awakening. That's where you dream that you've woken up. So, you dream you wake up, you perhaps get out of bed, clean your teeth, wander around, everything's perfectly normal. And then you see something isn't normal at all and you go, oh my God, I'm dreaming, and then you really wake up.
What's it like recounting the experience now after all these years?
It feels like it's happening again. It's as vivid as it was the day it happened. I'll never forget it for a second. It's burned into my brain. I remember it very well.
I've met Whitley Strieber on a number of occasions, and I am totally convinced that he's being entirely truthful about his experiences. He is undoubtedly someone who has undergone some quite extraordinary experience. Whether it's extraterrestrial or not, I don't know. I'm not sure that he would necessarily label it in that way. But it's alien, certainly in the sense that it's alien to our understanding. And I think that Whitley and people like him have clearly experienced something quite extraordinary.
I'd like to introduce Anne and Whitley. Whitley has had some...
The support group shown in the film Communion was based on a real abduction support group run by Bud Hopkins in New York City, which has met every week for the last 35 years.
And want that to come back.
One of the things that's always asked by the abductees themselves, why me? Everybody says, why me? And there's no answer for that. We have no idea. The one thing we do know is that if someone has been having abduction experiences, which they will have throughout their life again and again, as if they're an involuntary specimen in somebody's long-term study, and that person then comes to maturity and produces children of his or her own, it's very likely that one or more of those children will also be abducted, as if the aliens are following a particular genetic line.
Every Friday evening, around 10 people come together in Hopkins' Midtown house to share their experiences. For many, it's a vital support mechanism in coping with the trauma.
I don't know what had happened, or why my head was going in the wrong direction on the bed, or why I still had my jeans on. It was kind of frightening. I was being shown something on a screen, and two little guys were leading me up to the screen, and little gray, the typical guys. And I realized, wow, I need to wake up. I need to wake up really bad because I don't like this. And then when I woke up, I was paralyzed in my bed. I was in a fetal position, and my hands were locked like this.
I woke up paralyzed, and I could move my eyes. There was diffuse blue light.
I saw this light, and it was sort of like a very symmetrical, circular globe of some sort.
I had this gut feeling inside of me that I knew at that point that something or someone was in my room.
It was real, what was happening to me, and it was terrifying.
What I feel is going on at the heart of the abduction phenomena is that another intelligence from here, from another place, is forcibly interacting with human beings, I feel against their will, in a series of a priori, originally perhaps experiments, and now a series of procedures that suggest a very disturbing situation, namely that we're being mucked about with.
One of the most dramatic abduction cases that Hopkins investigated occurred in November 1989 in New York City.
Well, on November 30th, 1989, I went to sleep, and I felt this numbness crawling up from my toes up to my legs, and I felt a presence in the room. And I was afraid to open my eyes, and I didn't for a while. But then I had to in order to protect my family and myself. And when I opened my eyes, there was this creature, this thing, standing at the foot of my bed. It had large black eyes. It was sort of gray, and it didn't belong there. I was terrified. I thought I was going to have a heart attack, to be quite honest with you. I thought I would go into heart failure. That's exactly how I felt.
Linda was put in touch with Bud Hopkins, who undertook a series of hypnotic regressions. These sessions unlocked many more bizarre details of the abduction.
Well, I found myself outside the window, 12 stories up in midair, and I couldn't breathe. It was hard to breathe, and I felt as though my eyes were like stuck in their sockets. They wouldn't move, so all I could do was look straight ahead. I was bathed in a bluish-white light, sort of smoky, and that was all I saw. And then the next thing I remembered was I felt as though I was on an invisible elevator going up and into this craft. Then I was brought into this very clinical looking room where I was undressed, and I sat on this table, and there might have been about 4 creatures there, and they began to examine me.
One of the things about this subject is if you see something dramatic or encounter it somewhere or other, maybe through reading or whatever, one of the things is that you instantly realize if this is true, it's the biggest event in human history. If there is, in fact, some non-human intelligence in using some kind of non-human technology, suddenly interacting with us, it's the biggest event in human history. I can't imagine encountering this and not feeling dramatically moved and disposed to look into it.
According to those who investigated this abduction, there were multiple witnesses who actually saw a UFO hovering near her apartment building on the night.
I've met Linda, and she's a very level-headed woman, and this case is extraordinary because it has so many witnesses that that saw the craft hovering over her apartment building. When Bud shows the drawings from the different witnesses, it's astounding, and that's what we need to bring across to the public, is that these people aren't just abducted all by themselves in the middle of a field somewhere. This can happen anywhere.
I have looked into probably about 620 separate individuals, and I've done numerous sessions with some of those people. So in a number of those cases, I've worked through maybe 5 or 6 or 7 or 8, 10 abduction experiences. I've heard from another, perhaps 4,000 people by letter, telephone, face-to-face descriptions that they were giving me, but I didn't have a chance to follow them up. But the numbers are extraordinary.
What people say is that they're taken up out of their room, whether they're on their couch or in their kitchen or wherever they are, and oftentimes they're floated directly through a closed window. And I've asked them, are you sure this window was closed? Didn't you open it, or didn't they open it, or did it open by themselves? And the abductees are clear, no, it's absolutely closed. Now, if this were psychological, they would say, well, of course it was open. There would be no problem then. But they look up at me and they say, has anybody else ever reported that? Floating through a closed window, not knowing that absolutely everybody reports that.
What would you think if it hadn't have happened to you, and you know, in this neighbourhood with the people you know, you'd been told that it happened to someone else? What would you have thought? What would your action be?
I probably would not have believed it. I'd be very skeptical. And I expect most people to feel that way about my case. But I know what happened to me.
One of the major issues that skeptics have with the validity of Linda Cortile's abduction experience, and the whole phenomena in general, was the use of hypnosis to unlock her memory of the event. Critics argue that this allows for the manipulation of the victim, and in some cases, the actual creation of a whole abduction experience.
Critical stage at this moment. All we're trying to do is build a picture exactly around. Right, take a couple of deep breaths for me, that's all.
Imagine someone has had a deeply traumatic sleep paralysis experience. Imagine they woke up in the night, couldn't move, couldn't scream, felt creepy crawly fingers on them, had an awful sense there's somebody in the room, heard buzzing and humming noises, and then later on they woke up and it's all gone. What are they going to think? Now imagine that they go to a hypnotherapist who regresses them and says, you can remember, you're lying in bed, the buzzing noise is there, you can remember. Now we know that hypnosis encourages fantasy, and they will fantasize. And they will probably fantasize about aliens, particularly if that particular hypnotherapist is known for doing alien abduction regressions. And so this fantasy, they'll know at the time it's a fantasy because you normally do in hypnosis, but it gradually works their way into its memory. And you've only got to do that a few times before your memory has become vivid and rich and absolutely convincing, and you are sure that you were abducted. And in fact, you weren't.
I'm inside a spaceship. The star charts all on the walls, all the way around.
Hypnosis, of course, has been the whipping boy of the skeptics because it's used very frequently in this. Hypnosis can very, very easily be misused. If a very clever interrogator can lead somebody in normal conversation, which we know if you watch lawyers in action, but just in normal conversation, people can be led, seduced, changed, almost against their will, so that the whole story becomes different. Under hypnosis, it's even easier to do that.
Okay.
I feel ashamed.
What are you ashamed of?
Being frightened.
That's a perfectly natural reaction to anything unusual, out of the ordinary.
Don't understand what's going on.
Now, what we know about the way normal memory works is that the more often you tell a story, the more you are inclined to remember the story you told rather than the original event. And at its most extreme, this can become what's called false memory, where a memory can feel absolutely real, like a memory, and yet have been created by your own telling of the story.
We saw an object that we could not identify. It was just hovering in the sky. It was perfectly round, silver in color, and sometimes the sun would shine on it in such a way that it looked as if there was some blue on the object.
So are abductees really experiencing what they say, or are they making it up? Leah Haley claims she was abducted several times from her home in Gulf Breeze, Florida, and then taken into what she describes as an alien spacecraft. She wrote several books on the subject and now lectures on alien abductions around the world. Although her memories of the event were solely recovered under hypnosis, she maintains that they really did happen to her.
I didn't remember everything about the experience, but I did remember being in a round room that had very bright, intense light, and I was lying on a flat platform on my back, and I remembered aliens standing all around me performing medical experiments on me. They had solid black eyes, 2 little holes for a nose. I couldn't remember a mouth at all. They didn't have any hair, they didn't have any ears, and I remembered that I felt very calm, not afraid at all, but it was like I was paralyzed. I couldn't just get up and move around. It was like a medical subject.
Like many abductees, Leah suffered alienation and derision from her friends and family after she went public. Despite this, she stands by her story and now campaigns for this phenomena to be taken seriously.
I got fired from a job that I loved because I felt that it was important to go public with my story. My older daughter, who is 24 years old, disowned me because I went public with my story. She got married last July. I was not invited to the wedding. I was told by my own child that she never wanted to hear from me again. She never wanted to see me again. As far as she was concerned, I was dead because I had embarrassed the family by talking about my experiences.
Keen to prove that she was telling the truth, she agreed to allow a former FBI profiler, Paul Miner, carry out a detailed polygraph examination on her.
I was a polygraph examiner for the Army up until 1978, and at that time I went over to the FBI and was the chief polygraph examiner for the FBI from 1978 until the end of 1987, when I left and set up my own business, a security firm in Fairfax, Virginia. Do you intend to lie to me in any way during this polygraph test?
No. It seemed very real, just as real as my being here, conscious, talking right now.
Do you claim to have been abducted by alien beings?
Yes. It was very difficult for me to accept the reality of it. I tried to explain it away as a dream.
Are you lying about being gynecologically examined by aliens in a spacecraft?
No. I said to myself, you know, how could aliens get into my house? All of the doors and windows were locked. But it seemed so real that I had to go and check every door and window and convince myself that they were all locked.
Are you afraid that you might fail this polygraph test?
Yes. The polygraph exam is extremely nerve-wracking and stressful to take the exam because one doesn't know how accurately a machine reads the material. You know, it's like, I know I'm telling the truth, but how can a machine tell whether I'm telling the truth or not?
Tell me how she now did on the test. Did she pass or fail?
It showed that she was deceptive, and not only is it my opinion that she was strongly deceptive, but there's a program in the computer here that was done by Johns Hopkins University, and I scored the charts on that, and it says deception strongly indicated, the probability of deception being greater than 0.99. So that's almost certain.
No doubt in your mind that she was trying to deceive us?
No doubt in my mind.
There's not even an element that she believes it, but it may not have happened to her?
No, if she believed it, it would show that she was telling the truth. But it shows here that she does not believe it, and she knows that this did not occur.
Certainly in some cases where individuals have reported full-blown abduction experiences, independent witnesses who were present in the room with them at the time reported that physically they had not left the room. In other words, the entire experience was taking place inside their own heads. Now, if we know that that can happen in some cases, I think the burden of proof is then on those who are making the stronger claims that people really are being taken aboard flying saucers to show that that's not what's happening in all of the cases.
Whilst the vast majority of abduction reports come from the United States, it is in fact a worldwide phenomena, with thousands of cases being reported in the United Kingdom alone. The man who was responsible for investigating these reports on behalf of the UK government was Nick Pope.
Whilst it's true to say that other people within various governments have conducted official research into UFOs, which has mirrored the work that I did at the ministry, to the best of my knowledge, I am the only person in the world ever to have conducted official research and investigation into the alien abduction phenomenon. Some people said to me when I was at the ministry, "Why are you wasting time looking into alien abductions?" I said, as long as people report these experiences to me, I have a duty to take their claims seriously. Some of these people were phoning up in a great state of distress. What was I supposed to do? Hang up on them?
UFO, another one.
One of his cases was Peter and Diane Shepherd, who saw a large, brightly lit UFO outside their house in the country.
There in front of us, across the road, the main road, were the most amazing lights in the sky to our left. There were quite a number of them, and they were actually coming from our left, crossing over the road, and then they were coming in front of us and going to the right.
This was a field length away, by the way. These lights were at treetop height. But around the red was like a halo effect of flashing, sparkling, brilliant white flashes were going off.
So there you go, you see it.
We were all stunned, obviously, by what we were seeing. I mean, our reality was completely shattered. This was something that wasn't supposed to happen.
How can something, you know, how could this be? This is, I mean, it's a shattering experience. You can't believe it. I was excited, a little bit afraid, a little bit uneasy because of the size of this thing. It was awesome.
The basic experience itself, I wouldn't dispute, often did seem to that person to take place the way they describe it. The question is how we interpret what happened. Did they just have some kind of very rich and complex hallucination that's what was happening?
So there you go, you see there's a reference point, blah blah blah. UFO, another one.
Another bizarre case was Anne and Paul Andrews, whose son, Jason, was repeatedly visited by a UFO throughout his childhood. On each occasion, their house would begin to shake wildly, a bright light would come through the doors and windows, and Jason would make his way to the front door and out into their garden. He would disappear for hours on end.
I mean, the initial reaction is absolute terror. You know, you sort of, you know, you're running around like a headless chicken. You know, you don't know whether to phone the police or what to do. You know, you're just sort of standing there, you know, just sort of screaming at each other. You know, the second reaction is anger. You know, real anger that, you know, this can happen. You know, why can you not do anything about it? It's like when Jason was younger, you know, he would come to us and say, you know, I hate them for taking me, but I hate you for not stopping them. you know, you feel very angry, you feel very frustrated, you know, and you also feel very, very upset that this is going on sort of in your own home, in your own house, where you're supposed to protect your children and keep them safe. You can't do anything about it.
Some people have speculated that we're dealing, when we talk about the greys, with what humans one day evolve into. And it's been suggested that we're dealing with people from the future coming back through time to take genetic material, perhaps to revitalise the human race.
He told us that was what was happening to him. I mean, he told us for years that he was being taken away by little men, you know, and I mean, this was when he was sort of 4 or 5, you know, he was saying, well, these little men come into my room and they make me go away with them, you know. Of course we're saying, well, nobody can get in, you know, the doors are locked, you know, mummy and daddy are here to protect you, you know, all the usual thing that parents say. So, I mean, it was him that was insisting to us that this is what was going on.
Someone's taking my son away and showing him things and doing things to him. You know, I like to know why. And if I could, I'll stop it.
At the end of the day, my best assessment, and because this is a view I formed at the ministry, I guess you could call it an official assessment, is that yes, we are dealing with extraterrestrials, and yes, the alien abduction phenomenon is real in a physical sense.
So what is going on? Are thousands of people really being abducted against their will by aliens? Are sinister experiments being carried out on the human race in spacecraft? Perhaps the most unique take on the phenomena is from the British scientist Albert Budden, who spent years researching the idea that alien abductions aren't real physical events, but are severe mental reactions caused by exposure to high levels of electromagnetic energy. Interestingly, only a very small percentage of people are sensitive enough to be affected by this phenomena, which causes the victim to produce vivid and entirely lifelike hallucinations.
All these abductees or experiencers are actually suffering from, they've developed a condition called electrical hypersensitivity, and this long word means that they are hypersensitive to the invisible electromagnetic energies in the environment, and they're living in something called a hotspot where the electromagnetic energies are higher than most places, near power lines, near a radio transmitter, over a crack in the earth, which is a geological fault which produces electromagnetic fields, near a transformer. There's a whole host of sources of electromagnetism in the environment, a local minicab office, a radio ham next door, a CB radio enthusiast a few yards away. All of these things will irradiate the house on a permanent basis.
According to Budden's research, the sensations reported by abductees mirror those of people who are affected by strong electromagnetic currents.
They have periods where they feel like there's somebody in the room with them, watching them, although they can't actually see anybody. This is called a sense of presence. Their sense of time will be distorted. This is called desynchronization, where they feel that time has gone by in a flash, or that time has been distorted, been drawn out. There's a whole host of signs and symptoms that they begin to suffer from after being exposed to these high levels of electromagnetism.
So are alien abductions real? Are people being beamed up into spaceships and subjected to bizarre experiments? Or is this all just some form of severe psychological disorder? The abductees themselves have no doubt that this is a real phenomena, and yet the hard physical evidence is very thin to almost non-existent. At the end of the day, this is a phenomena that seems to affect millions of people around the world. And until we find out the true cause, the abduction files will remain firmly open.
UFO, another one.
The whole basic purpose seems to be that the UFO occupants have reached some kind of evolutionary dead end. That's an assumption, but I think it's a fairly safe one. And that they need to revivify their own stock, so to speak, with something probably more primitive that we can offer them, that they seem to need. This seems to be for them, not for us. We have no idea where this program is going to end up, but many people have described seeing on ships and in experiences figures that seem to be a mix of human and alien characteristics.
In the end, my own impression is that the vast majority of alien abduction experiences are in fact sleep paralysis. That people have woken up paralyzed as from dreaming, but they're half awake, they can't move, they have all the classic symptoms of sleep paralysis: buzzing, humming, bright lights, the feeling of presence that there's somebody there, and their mind takes over and does the rest and clothes the whole thing in all the paraphernalia of abductions.
The biggest problem with alien abduction research at the moment is that, with the best will in the world, it's been carried out by a handful of dedicated amateurs. What we really need to take forward research into this important matter is the involvement of mainstream science and the involvement of governments. It's only these two bodies that really, I think, can take us now forward and perhaps achieve some sort of breakthrough.
Abduction is horrifying. Abduction is a nightmare. But the audience must know that these events are real. They're physical events that are happening to millions of people. And I would not be surprised if someone you know is an abductee, but they've never said it.